I just heard there was an email requesting a meeting or something, requesting a meeting, that they have information on Hillary Clinton. And I said, I mean, that's standard political stuff.
Did you know at the time that they had the meeting?
No, I didn't know anything about the meeting.
That's not standard political stuff. That was more of President Trump's interview with the New York Times talking about his son and son-in-law's meeting with a Russian lawyer. This comes after the White House and Trump's political team has said President Trump was not aware of any meeting between his son, Don Jr., and a Russian lawyer. I want to bring back my panel, Kate Kelly and Jason Johnson. Kate, President Trump is saying he heard about the request for the meeting, but then saying he didn't know about the meeting. Are voters going to buy this?
I don't know if they will, but I'm not sure his base will give a darn. I mean, I think it's more of the same. I mean, he doesn't use email, right? So he goes off memory many times. He has aides that help refresh his memory when he needs that. In this case, you could make a case that he knew about it or that he didn't know about it. He then goes on to say, well, you know, I talked often on the stump about, I often beat up Hillary Clinton and talked about her ties to Russia and receiving money for speeches and so on. So he tries to sort of equivocate. It's just not clear.
Let's actually play that, because it doesn't necessarily matter if it's his voters who care. Does Robert Mueller care? Listen.
You give a speech that night saying you're going to give a speech about Hillary Clinton's corrupt dealings with Russia and other countries. And that comes just 3 hours after Don Jr.
Number one, I made
people wondered about the timing.
Speeches.
Yeah.
I go after her all the time.
And this is ahead of their visit to Capitol Hill. Don Jr., Paul Manafort, Jared Kushner. I mean, to simply say that this is politics, we learned from the New York Times, Paul Manafort in the hole to Russian interests, $17 million. A few nice meetings and a tip of the hat, that would sure help clear him of that kind of dough.
Well, just quickly, I think it's smart of Peter Baker to bring up the timeline, and he wrote a story on this last week, I think. It was 3 hours later that he promised a big bombshell on this topic, so that is somewhat damning.
And at this point, it's hard to believe that this all happened in the building, that he didn't know in advance. We've got 8 million people, the number of people at this meeting. We've got Manafort, we've got Kushner, we've got Boris and Natasha, we've got Yakov Smirnov. Everybody was in this room.
Yakov Smirnov was not in the room.
At this point, I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it. But that's the thing. It's so disingenuous. And I have to say this from the very beginning. I've always thought this. This idea that, look, this is just common politics. You get this email. If anybody here got an email from a deposed African prince saying, like, I got $20 million for you, you don't respond to that either. Right. So the president to suggest that from a foreign enemy that it was just okay that he would, this is a problem. It's a national
Note to Nigerian email scammers, get Don Jr.'s email address.
Exactly.
But you know, without sounding like an apologist for the president, I do think this is just yet another reflection of his inexperience in politics, his somewhat narrow experience of running a private family real estate organization. Think about how he thinks about things and how he free associates. The topic of Rod Rosenstein comes up. He's ticked off because Rosenstein is from Baltimore, where there are very few Republicans. Right. I mean, that's his reaction. He's not thinking in a sort of thoughtful, logical way.
Then Kate Kelly, for Republicans, listening to this is the only takeaway should be opportunity lost. This was an opportunity of a lifetime for Republicans to get to their agenda. And listen to what the president said when asked about his ties with Russian businessmen. It's extraordinary.
I mean, it's possible that it's condo or something. So, I sell a lot of condo units, and somebody from Russia buys a condo. Who knows? I don't make money from Russia. They said I own buildings in Russia. I don't. They said I made money from Russia. No, it's not my thing. I don't do that.
No one said he owns buildings in Russia. They said he got money from Russia. Right. He's a licensor. He doesn't build them and pay for them himself.
Right. I actually have to say I think the condo point is a smart point, because it's a good way for him to explain. There might be some links there. I have connections to many, many real estate units in the U.S. and beyond. If some Russians bought my condo, that might be a legitimate and irrelevant thing to this investigation. He's kind of doing what he does, which is, here, media, follow the ball this way, and then policy is happening over here, or investigations happening over here.
Isn't going to fall for this nonsense. No, but Robert Mueller can quickly figure out if all of these condos are sold to shell companies, if they're sold at off-market prices, kind of like his estate in Palm Beach that he buys for 40 and, I don't know, sells for 90. If I'm Robert Mueller, I don't look the other
But
way.
so
I
far,
focus
speaking
on it.
to his
But
base and minimizing
he'll fire
his
him
issues
before anything happens.
Right.
Because he'll
Right.
fire Robert Mueller, I think, before anything happens, and the Republican Party will sit there with their hands in their pockets and say, "We didn't know what to do. The president has the right to fire him."
Correct. And I think so far,
How low can you go?
It's
That was for you.
I don't know.
I know he loves the hip hop, so I gave it to him. We got to take a break. Next, could the juice be